Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome in our virtual training workshop. It's a sequence of 21 days of effective communication, which is a part of Positive Psychology Coaching Series. Today is our 10th day of this training, and our topic is Ask Questions That Get Results. Now let's start with the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Our today's lecture is very critical but very important. We are going to discuss how to ask questions that definitely get replies. Asking questions are the ultimate mean of acquiring the knowledge, information, or reaching to any final decisions. These questions should be serious and effective. Our today's training will help to train you how to execute right and effective questions that get results. In this lecture, we will also help you to learn how to ask effective and productive questions. Questions that have the ability to bring answers, with some valuable suggestion or advices, along with some practice. Do you ever think that how you describe the questions? A question is a sentence, a word, or an expression so that you can elicit the information. When we want to know something about any information, situation, or matter, then what we do? We ask questions. These questions should be very clear, serious, and powerful enough that they get results or answer. Usually, when we saw a new thing or faces a new situation, many questions arises in our mind about it, such as what is it, why is it, how is it for, etc. etc. All these are to define something about the state or describe exactly the nature, scope, or meaning of it. For instance, when we want to search anything or plan to do anything, we need to establish exactly what is required of us for to ask. This is the defining stage of the process. These questions help you to set the scene for what you will be doing and will guide your research. Some questions are arising in our mind for that particular task are: what do I need to find out about this topic or task? And sometimes you think that what do I already know about this topic or task? What is my focus question asking me to do? What product do I need to create? Who is my target audience? How long do I have to complete this task? How will I be assessed? As we said earlier, that questioning is the key means by which we find out what other people already know, identify gaps in knowledge and understanding, and scaffold the development of their understanding to enable them to close the gap between what they currently know and the learning goals. Questions are the most common form of interaction between two or more peoples. Questions serves a number of essential purposes. For example, the basic main purpose or say importance of questions is that they give immediate feedback on understanding, which can then be used by the information or service provider to modify their process, service, or system. They help to develop thinking process. They help to quickly inspect the existing knowledge and experience to create new understandings or upgrade the information. Sometimes they help to focus on the key issues and help to solve them, and afterward enables to see the progress over time. Usually there are four types of questions: general questions, special questions, choice questions, or disjunctive questions. Journal questions are the common questions that can be answered with the two words simply yes or no, or logically called yes or no questions. As a rule, this kind of questions relates to the whole sentence and not to a separate element of it. For example, do you like this pizza? Its answer is simply either you like a pizza or you not like a pizza. So you say yes or no. Does Jafar knows about your new job? Again, your reply will be yes or no. Can I call you? Again, yes or no. Is it cold outside? You tell if there is cold outside, you say yes. If no, and then say no. Are you ready for the trip, or are they ready for the trip? Again, yes or no. Are you hungry? If you are hungry, say yes. If you are not hungry, say no. To ask such general questions, the appropriate rising intonation should be used at the end of the sentence. The answer can be a brief yes or no, or a longer answer can be given yes, I do, no, I don't like this, etc. A special question, as you can guess, uses the special words such as who, what, where, when, why, how many, etc. at their start for questioning. Always note that these questions have their own special structure and can be responded by simply removing these special characters and placing subjects in their places. For example, questions using this special character or words are like, where is he from? By just removing where and restructuring with word he, you can say that he is from Pakistan. When did you come here? I come here from Gujarat. Next question is, how did you meet her? You can respond like, I meet her in my office. Next example is, how many eggs do we need for this cake? You can respond that we need 4 eggs for this cake. Whose children are playing in the yard? Maybe you respond that your children are playing in the yard, or my children are playing in the yard. Choice questions are questions that offer a choice of several options as an answer. They are made up two parts which are connected by the conjunction, just like a multiple choice question that you like option 1 or you like option 2. Choice questions can be either general, open-ended questions or more specific ones. If the question does not center on the subject of the sentence, a complete answer is needed. For example, in first question you ask, does she like ice cream or sweets? This question tells that you want to inquire her that either she like ice cream or sweets. And the respondent say that she likes ice cream. In the next example, you want to ask, where would you go, to the cinema or the theater? And if the respondent want to go cinema, he respond, I would go to the cinema. Likewise, in the next question, you want to ask, is he a teacher or a student? If he is a teacher, you said he is a teacher. And if he is a student, you said he is a student. However, when the question concerns the subject, the auxiliary verb comes before the second option. The answer is short. For example, does she make it or do you? If you make anything, you said I did. If she make it, you said she does. In the next example, you want to say or ask, did they buy that house or did she? Again, If you buy this house, you said, I buy this. And if they buy this house, you said, they did. Just like choice question, this type of question is also made up of two parts, where the first part is a positive statement and the second part is a negative statement. The first part of the sentence defines the expected answer. If the statement is positive, a positive answer is expected. If the statement is negative, a negative answer is expected. For example, see the first example. In this question, you want to ask whether she has invited him or not. So you ask that she sent him an invitation, didn't she? In this question, you are hoping that she has invited him. So if she has invited him, then the respondent will respond that yes, she did it. In the second question, you want to ask whether he is getting married or not. So you ask that you aren't getting married, are you? In this question, you are hoping that he is not married yet. So if he is not married, then the respondent will respond that no, I am not. In the next example, you want to ask whether Rohina is in Lahore or not. So you ask that Rohina isn't in Lahore, is she? In this question, you are hoping that she is not in Lahore. So if she is not in Lahore, then the respondent will respond that no, she isn't. In the next example, you want to ask whether you come home soon, your dad come home soon or not. So you ask that our dad will come soon, won't he? In this question, you are hoping that your dad will come home soon. Then the respondent will respond, if your dad comes earlier, then the respondent will respond that yes, he will. There are also expectations. In this question, you want to ask whether you can go with someone you want to go with. So that I am going with you, aren't I? In this question, you are hoping that you want to go with someone. Then the respondent will respond that yes, you are. You can't say I am a great person, am I not? That would be incorrect. Just remember that when the pronouns I is used, the tag is are or aren't. Tag questions are only used in conversational speech to clarify information or to confirm or refute something if there are doubts. An understanding of the specific classification of questions you ask not only help you to achieve better answers and build stronger relationships, but it will also help you to avoid misleading people or worse, prevent you from suffering a dreaded. Let's start with the everyday classification of questions people may ask and the answer they are likely to elicit. Closed or polar questions, they are normally called polar questions, are generally invites a one-word answer, such as yes or no. For example, do you drive or did you take my pen? They could also include answers to factual or multiple choice questions, such as what is your name or would you like tea, coffee, or water? They are popular as icebreaker questions in group discussions because they are easy to answer. Of course, most questions can be opened up for further discussion, including closed questions, but more on that later. They are very useful for warming up group discussion and getting a quick answer. Open-ended questions require a little more thought and generally encourage wider discussion and elaboration. They can't be answered with a simple yes or no response. For example, what do you think of your boss? Or why did you choose that car? They are useful for critical or creative discussion and finding out more information about a person or subject. Probing questions. These questions are very useful for gaining clarification and encouraging others to tell you more information about a subject. Probing questions are usually a series of questions that dig deeper and provide a fuller picture. For example, when do you need the finished project, and it is okay if I email it to you. They are beneficial for seeing the bigger picture and encouraging a relevant speaker to tell you more information and avoiding misunderstandings. Leading questions. These questions are designed to lead the respondent towards a certain desired positive or negative route. In the workplace, you might encounter leading questions such as: do you have any issue with the project? Or did you enjoy working on that project? The former subtly prompts the respondent towards a negative response, the latter towards a positive. Asking how did you go on with their project will get you more balanced answer. Leading questions could also involve an appeal at the end that designed to coerce the respondent into agreeing with the speaker. For example, the project is going well, isn't it? Encourage the respondent to say yes. This worked particularly well because psychologically we prefer saying yes over no. So when we are put on the spot, we'll usually opt for the former. They are very useful for building positive discussion, closing a sale, steering a conversation towards an outcomes that serves you interest. Here I warn you that it is important to use leading questions carefully, as they can be seen as an unfair way of getting the answer you want. Loaded questions. Loaded questions are seemingly straightforward, closed questions with a twist. They contain an assumption about the respondent. They are famously used by lawyers and journalists to trick their interviewee into admitting a fundamental truth they would otherwise be unwilling to disclose. For example, the question, have you stopped stealing pens, assumes the respondent stole a pen more than once. Whether she answers yes or no, she will admit to having stolen pens at some point. Of course, the preferred response would be, I have never stolen a pen in my life, but it's not always easy to spot the trap. These questions are quite rightly seen as manipulative. They are very helpful for discovering facts about someone who would otherwise be reluctant to offer up the information. Funnel questions. As with the funnel, these questions begin broadly before narrowing to a specific point, or vice versa. When meeting someone new, we usually begin with specific closed questions such as what is your name and what do you do? Before broadening out into more open ended questions such as why did you choose to be a firefighter or a policeman, as you become more comfortable talking to each other. The reverse, beginning with the broad questions before honing in on something specific, is often used when questioning witnesses to gain the maximum amount of information about a person or situation. For example, what do you do for a living? Do you work nights? Did you see a break in? Was there more than one person? And so on. Funnel questions can also be used to diffuse tension. Asking someone to go into detail about their issue distracts them from their anger and gives you the information you need to offer them a solution, which in turn calms them down and makes them think something positive is being done to help them. They are very useful for building relationships, discovering very specific information, and diffusing arguments. Recall and process questions. Recall questions requires the recipient to remember a fact. For example, what's 7 times 7 and where did you put the keys, or what's your login password? Process questions, on the other hand, require the respondent to add their own opinion to their answer. These type of questions can be used to test the respondent's depth of knowledge about a particular topic. For example, what are the advantages of asking a closed question, or why are you the right person to lead this project? They are very useful for encouraging critical thoughts and in-depth evaluation of a subject in tests, interviews, or discussion. Rhetorical questions. These are a different best altogether because they don't require an answer. They are simply statements phrased as questions to make the conversation more engaging for the listener, who is drawn into agreeing with you. For example, isn't it nice working with such a friendly team? Is more engaging that this team is friendly, which doesn't require any mental participation from the respondent. Rhetorical questions are often used by coaches or public speakers for effect to get the audience thinking and agreeing. In this way, they are a not too distant cousin of the leading questions. They are useful for persuading people and building engagements. Unfortunately, as we know, it's not always so easy to get clear answers from other people. We can't force anyone to answer us, but we can greatly increase our chance of a good result by refining the way we ask questions. Here's how to get answers. Always build up high pressure questions gently. No one likes having an important question sprung upon them. Show some empathy for their position. For example, let's say that you want to ask your manager some questions about your chances of receiving a rise next year. Rather than charging in and asking immediately whether you think your salary will receive a boost, ask them whether it's good time to talk about your position at the company and prospects for the future. Before start questioning, first decide whether an open or closed question is better. No doubt, we are often told that asking open questions, those beginning with why and how, is a better approach than asking closed questions that can be answered with a yes or no. It is true that the former will yield more in-depth responses, but this isn't always a good thing. For instance, if you are talking to someone who is renowned for rambling on without getting to the point, it might be best to use a closed question instead. When helping someone in their problem, always use a four-part structure. Questions don't just help you obtain information, but they are also a good way of helping someone through a crisis. Empathy and sympathy will only take you so far. Asking the right questions will help someone come up with a plan of action that gets to the roots of the problems. Executive coach Aaron Leonard recommends taking a four-step approach. Now we discuss them one by one. Always ask questions that will help them to improve their skills to solve their issues. What seems to be the issue here is a good starting point. Afterward, you may obtain further information. Once you have established the underlying cause of their distress, you can then use prompts to get the full story if necessary. Questions like, "Can you tell me more about that?" and "What else can you tell me?" are very useful in this context. Ask them questions that establish their ideal outcomes. Specifically, encourage them to tell you what a successful resolution would look like. Ask them what they want to happen, what their priorities are, and their preferred way of solving the problem. For instance, do they want to figure things out alone, with a friend, or with the assistance of a third party? Ask them questions that help them pin down their next steps. For instance, you could ask them whether they have any firm ideas with regards to how they plan to proceed and how they will know when they have met their objectives. Don't lead people to a particular answer. If you want to know what someone really thinks of an idea, you need to ask your questions in a neutral way. In other words, you need to avoid asking leading questions. Think about how you phrase them. Here are 3 examples of terrible questions that encourage an individual to give a particular kind of answer. First example is, does everyone agrees that we should streamline the department? Or shouldn't we put this into action as soon as possible? If you ask these questions, you would be making your own biases plain. If someone disagrees strongly, they may raise objections, but most people like an easy life. Consequently, open questions can encourage poor decision making at both home and work, which can be disastrous. This is even more likely if you have a strong personality, because not many people will be willing to tackle your assumptions and challenge your thinking. Let's look at a better way to ask those questions. What does everyone think we should do with regards to the department structure? Or when do you think we should put this plan into action? Don't force people to pick between 2 or 3 options. This approach assumes that you have already thought of all the available options. There might be viable alternatives, but you will never know if you ask questions in this format. It's more effective to simply ask someone for their suggestions or open with a broad statement like, "How would you handle this situation?" Prepare for the unexpected. Never assume that you know in advance what someone is going to say. Give them your full attention and be ready with a few phrases you can use if they share some shocking information. You can use like, Thank you for telling me. I need time to process that. This is a surprise." Or, "Can I have a minute to take that on board? And I'll admit this has shocked me a little, but I'd like to talk about it further." This will can help smooth over an awkward situation. Today you are going to put the above principles into practice when asking questions. If you have been meaning to get some clarification on an issue for a while and haven't gotten around to it, now it is the perfect time. These questions don't have to be of great significance. The objective is to practice getting the information you need and to have a positive conversation at the same time. Remember to put your listening skills to good use whenever the other person provides an answer. Thank you very much. Here we finish this lecture on how to ask questions that get results. We hope that you enjoyed much and learned a lot of new things with us. We are waiting for your valuable feedback. We will be right back with a new topic. Keep watching our YouTube channel. For more upcoming lectures and trainings, please subscribe our YouTube channel.